I think with this album we did a lot more working together.
We learnt from History of Modern that actually being in the same room when the creative process is happening is better than just sending things up and down the internet. So we have actually been together in the studio, sparking the creative processes, and I think that's really benefited this album greatly. Often, particularly when we're writing a melody, Paul is playing it, but I'm sitting right next to him and we're sort of editing as we go. Paul will play something and go, I like that bit, but not that note. And so it's constant to and fro. So it's essentially we're writing it together, although his fingers are doing the actual playing.
We're not one of these bands that sort of has to go back to the old analogue years. We're happy to embrace all the modern technology, and we're always kind of updating our technology, so it's probably a bit more updated than History of Modern.
Particularly the melodies are played by hand and are not quantized specifically onto the beat, does give it an organic feel, which I know seems almost a contradiction that you're playing synthesizers out of a computer but you're looking for an organic feel, but it has a movement and a variety which just gives it a little bit more natural ebb and flow. And particularly when most of the melodies, as they used to be in the early days, are played on 2 or 3 instruments together, you get this combining sort of human slide to it, which I think gives it a really positive feel. The inspiration for the album has come from quite a broad collection of thoughts and feelings that have all been condensed into a short period of time. I think one of the strengths of this album is that it's got a holistic feel to it because it has been largely conceived and written within a 2-year time period. So it holds together as a unit, I think, extremely strongly. Lyrically, I think the overarching feel tends to be a sense of loss, a sense of melancholia, that things haven't turned out the way you wanted them to, whether that be with technology or in personal relationships. Sometimes the idea of literally stripping it down to a bass drum, a snare drum, a hi-hat, a single chord, the melody, the vocal, and I think actually consciously doing that has led us to have a clarity and a simplicity which is a definite strength on this record. History of Modern was a great collection of songs in the various OMD styles. I think this has a much tighter focus.
Yeah, the style is a bit more coherent. There was a lot on this particular album, on English Electric rather than History of Modern, and I think there were some songs as well that were brought through that have been written years ago. So stylistically, it was a little bit. I mean, it's a great album, but it was a little bit all over the place. Whereas this is very, very specific. Every song on this record is kind of linked in a way sonically. I mean, it sounds like quite a modern album, but I think it's also drawing from things like Dazzle Ships, in the sense that there's some sort of very fractured pieces that are not really songs but just ideas.
Not songs in the traditional arrangement of verse, chorus, verse. We consciously wanted to push the envelope, I think, a little again, and not just be conventional songwriters on this. And I think there are songs on this album again where we have deconstructed and rebuilt the writing arrangement, and I think again it's probably gives it a very distinctive orchestral manoeuvres in the dark feel. Actually,
it's like being kids again, really, because that's when we first started the band. There were no rules, there were no pressures, so we could be totally free artistically to do whatever the heck we felt like doing. And we've come full circle, and we're back in that position again, and it's a lovely position to be in, really, because we have real freedoms. There's no pressures, there's no record companies on our cases.
And strangely enough, actually, when we don't adhere to any particular pattern and we don't care about whether we sell records or how they're going to be received, we generally actually make our best music.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's no sort of filtering networks now. There used to be, like record companies used to filter what people could hear, radio stations used to filter what people can hear, and now everybody's making music and they're putting it out all over the internet, which is making it harder to sort of decipher what's good and what's bad. But so that makes it more difficult. But on the positive side, the internet is a fantastic marketing tool that you can get to people who may not have found your music before. When we first put the History of Modern album out, we were told, you're gonna have a nightmare getting on the radio. So the fact that Radio 2 embraced it was a very positive thing for us.
We are very excited to be working with BMG. Essentially, this is a brand new model. It's not really a record company; it's a rights company, and it gives us the strength of an umbrella large organisation, which they are. But it allows us to have the flexibility to work with them to tailor individual people to work with in individual territories. So it's a bit like the best of both worlds. We've got them to hold our hand and help us, but we still get a bespoke deal in every territory.
Because one of the problems we had being on Virgin was that, and on EMI, was that globally you were given out to all their territories, and you were forced into working with those people from Virgin or EMI, whether they were interested in your product or not. This way we can choose the people in these territories that actually understand the album and really want to, and believe in the album, and really want to work it. So I think that's can only be a good thing.
The title English Electric seems appropriate for so many reasons. I suppose historically we can go right back to the fact that the pair of us are early technology geeks. I saw the English Electric Deltic diesel prototype in the Science Museum when I was a kid in the late 60s, and I suppose in some respects that in itself reflects the whole ethos of the album. It was what I considered something from the future that was already in a museum. Read into that what you like. Obviously with English Electric as the title, we were keen to try to have something that would reflect that, and yet not be a straight lift or pastiche of something directly associated with them. We worked around and about the idea of the front of the Deltic diesel as an image. We might use it as a limited edition on certain items, possibly, but I think we wanted to go for something that wasn't quite so obviously nostalgic. So I think that's why some people may have been expecting something that looked like the Lightning or the Deltic diesel, but we've tried to distill that a lot more. And I think that again, we wanted to be more graphic as well, something more specifically graphic. And I think we've achieved that.
Yeah, I think the good thing about the digital age now is that you can really vary the formats. I mean, we were very restricted in the 80s. You just made like a 12-inch album and that was it. But now in the digital age, it affords you the opportunity to provide lots of different things because a lot of people want the digital download. So for people who don't want that, you can do special packaging. We've been doing a box set recently, and we can do 12-inch vinyl, we can do 7-inch vinyl, which do it in kind of a very luxury way, which in a sense, we tried to do luxury packaging in the early days, which absolutely cost us a fortune in those days. But with like even the first album with the slots in, so we want to kind of keep that going, and I think the new age kind of allows us to do that.
Essentially, Paul and I are different guys, and when we can do things on our own, and there are tracks on this album that Paul has mostly done on his own, and the stuff that I've mostly done on my own. But when you're doing a whole collection of songs over a fairly condensed period of time, it's just wonderful to have that opportunity to have somebody that you can dovetail into. And we've always said this, that we are very different people, so that we bring different elements, but when it fits together, it's so entirely complementary. It really makes for something that neither of us could execute left to our own devices.
As an artist, it can be quite difficult to be a self-editor. You need some kind of input to go, particularly when you're faced with lots of decisions and you're quite precious about everything that you've done. You need someone to come in and say, well, actually, that is better than that. And Andy's just brilliant at that, and I love working with him on that.
I think one of the additional bonuses of actually being the original 4-piece band was that people responded to us incredibly openly and positively, that those who remembered us from the 80s reconnected with the same 4 people.
I think very surprisingly they dropped in like they were songs we'd written in the 80s. They just seemed to, I don't know if it was the songs that we chose. What did we play, 5 songs or something in there?
Initially,
of History Modern. It was seamless, really, for band and audience. They just seemed to sonically fit together. Stylistically, they didn't stand out. So, and I think with the new album, it'll be even more so. I think they'll really, because they're quite, in some ways, referential to some our early stuff, particularly Arctic Morality and Dazzle Ships. I think they'll drop in perfectly. The audiences have varied quite a lot from country to country. One thing that was interesting when we, because last year we finally went back to America where we hadn't played for a long time. And what was interesting was the number of young people in the audience, and I think one interesting thing was being part of the Pretty in Pink film. That film seems to have transcended generations, and there's so many young kids can still relate to this film. And so, with having our song "If You Leave" from the, as sort of main song of the film, there's been so many younger people in America who loved that song and wanted to come and see the band who sung it, play it live.
It was great to go to play in Singapore and Manila. We played in Mexico. We went back to South Africa, where I had been in the 90s, but Paul and Malcolm and Martin hadn't been. And that was 3 sold-out shows in South Africa. Ballistic audiences. We will definitely be going back there. But yeah, there's always places we would love to go to Japan. We would love to get to Australia and New Zealand. We would love to go to South America. I'd like to play in China. There's still, still things to look forward to.
Six, seven, eight, nine.